Hey everybody, welcome to Don't Call Me Ma'am. I'm Jodi Miller and don't fucking call me ma'am. Today I am so excited for my guest, and I know I say that every time, but today I mean it. I'm just kidding, past guests. Today it's like for real. No, I've known this incredible woman for it feels like at least 12 years, 13 years. It could be longer, 15 years. I'm not even sure. But
I've been married to Greg for 17 years this year. So it's been like,
oh my God, it's been like almost 20 years then.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I just instantly got so much older in my brain. Okay, so I've known this person for almost 2 decades. And I know what you're thinking, like, Jodi, but you're only 24. I know, we met as toddlers. She is unbelievably talented. She is a actor. She is a comedian. She is a writer. She produces. She's a mom. Obviously, she talked about her husband bragging. So she's a wife. Put your hands together. And I know you're not driving anywhere, so you can totally do that. Put your hands together right now for the fabulous Kim Evey. Woo! Crowd goes wild. Everybody's going wild. I cannot believe that it has been that long. First of all, I can't believe that you guys have been married 17 years because like nobody thought you guys would make it.
I know. Isn't that crazy? I know. Nobody thought we would make it past like 2 months. And here we are at 17 years. So
wow. No, you guys, honestly, you were one, like when you guys started dating, it was one of those things where it felt like, oh yeah, it wasn't like, you know, sometimes when people start dating and you're like, really? It could be me because I've been single forever. But honestly, though, I feel like you guys were like always together. I mean, like you were always meant to be together is what I meant. Not like always together. It just seemed like a very like, oh yeah, like it just from, you know, my point of view. I don't know if that's how it felt for you, but
it felt, I mean, it was funny because we were friends at first. And when we met, we were both dating other people. So then
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then, so then we were friends and we worked together at Acme for like, I don't know, I think 6 or 7 months. And then we both broke up with our respective people. And then we sort of were like hanging out. And then we were like, we shouldn't date because we're like performing together. And then we were like, screw it. Let's just do this.
And it worked out. Where are your exes? Do you know where they are now?
Mine, I think is moved back south. Mm-hmm. And then his, I don't know where she moved, but I don't know if mine has a family or anything, but his is married with child and super happy.
Oh, wow. Okay. So then it worked out. Yours is definitely somewhere pining over you, stalking your social media.
Totally. Yeah.
That's the story I'm telling everyone.
Yeah, you should. No, his, they're friends on Facebook and she like, likes pictures of Charlie and stuff like that. So,
oh my God. Yes, we're definitely talking about Charlie. We're going to be talking about lots of things, but since we're on the Acme train, you know, we've all gone off into so many different directions, but like, think about it, like all the people we came up with, you know what I mean? And everybody's paths, like, did you think this is where you would be like, 15 years ago or, let's say 17 years ago when you and Greg got married, or, I mean, whatever, when you were in Acme, is this where you thought you would be right now?
No, I had no. No, not now. I mean, I always thought that I would, I just kind of assumed that I would be like, I'm going to get married and I'm going to have a kid. And when Greg and I got married, I thought I was going to have a kid much earlier than I did. So the fact that I'm the age that I am now and I have a kid is kind of crazy.
Right.
And I had no idea, like, with the whole advent of YouTube and like, our careers just took a crazy turn in 2007, 2008 when all the new media stuff hit. So I could not have predicted that for the world. So that was,
you were definitely on the forefront of that with the Guild. Tell everyone that story because I think it's an amazing story.
I'm going to say that it's one of the most successful independently produced web series ever. Just because I'm just going to say that independently produced because I think it was, because I think that we probably, we made a good deal of money. We made a lot of branding deals. Felicia got it to be in a lot of places. She got an amazing career, from it, a lot of recognition. So yeah, but the story of the Guild was that in 2006, I guess, 2007. So Felicia had taken
Felicia Day, for those of you who are like, who's Felicia? Felicia
Oh,
Day,
yeah,
everyone.
Felicia Day is an actress, and you may know her. If you don't know the Guild, you may know her from what's the Jared?
Supernatural.
Supernatural. Yeah, she's
Yes,
on
she's in
Supernatural.
Supernatural. She's in a million things. She's definitely one of those actresses, people that you look at her and you're like, oh my God, of course I know her. She's in everything. She's in a lot of things.
Yeah, she's
And
in The
yes,
Magicians on Netflix.
yes,
She's been
yes,
in, yeah, she's a redhead. She's very, very
yes,
talented, very funny.
very talented.
She's anyway, she had taken my class at Acme, and I really, because I was teaching sketch comedy there, and she was so talented already, and I was like, I want to be her friend. And then so we sort of were like, like distant friends. Like she'd invite me to her housewarming, or we'd do this, and then we
Right.
never kind of meshed up. And then like a year later after class, we finally had coffee together, and I was like, so tell me about your life. And she was like, I'm embarrassed, but do you know what World of Warcraft is? And I was like, yeah. And it was before like everybody knew what World of Warcraft was. She goes, well, I play that, and I'm pretty addicted, and I'm trying to break my addiction, but I'm seriously addicted. And I was like, oh, well, I do this thing with a bunch of other women where we meet once a week and we set goals, and it's early in the morning. We do it on purpose at 8 a.m. so that we can never say, oh, I have an audition as an excuse. And it's just once a week, and it's fun, and you should do it. And she was like, okay. And so she did. And then
I came once, by the way. I came to that once.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. I think we made like a vision board, or we were definitely doing like setting intentions and cutting things out and putting things together. And it was definitely when like, vision boards were like the hot thing where everyone's like, did you make a vision board today? And I was like, I made a vision board. So I think we were definitely doing that.
Which is hilarious because I hate vision boards. In fact, I stopped doing the Artist's Way because she was like, now you have to make a vision board. And I was like, fuck you.
Everyone wants you to make a vision board, and they'll call it something else too. They'll be like, your intention wall, your vision board, your picture imagination manifester. Yeah. I mean, like whatever name they give it to you, it's still, I have so much shit around my house. I don't even know what I've asked for. Like I just had random pictures just everywhere. I was like, well, here's my vision board over here. Yes. So that I did that. Yes. Okay, so you guys, yes.
So anyway, so she wrote the Guild as because she was like, I have this idea based on on World of Warcraft, and so she brought it to us. She wrote it on I think like New Year's Eve. She just like sat down, like she'd been thinking about it for a long time, but then she just sat down and she just wrote the script that was amazing. And she was like, here, I wrote this, and she's like, she's like, I don't know, it's not very good, and I don't know if I should. And we were like, oh my God, this is so great, let's shoot it, because I had already shot Gorgeous Tiny Chicken Machine Show.
Yes.
Which was a sketch that I did at Acme. So when we shot that, it was like, sit in one place, point the camera here, then point at that person, then point at that person, and then you're done. And then the Guild was like a full-on like single camera comedy. So we were so naive, but we were like, well, they're all sitting at their computers. How hard could it be? But it's definitely harder. But anyway, so we did that, and then it ended up getting picked up by Xbox, strangely enough, by Microsoft, because it was just Xbox needed content at the very, very beginning. And they were like, oh, this is about gamers, because we had put it on YouTube and it was getting a lot of attention. And they were like, we make video games, we don't make content. Clearly you know how to make content, so we'll just give you money to make the content, and we'll vet it to make sure that it's appropriate. And it was hilarious because at one point, like the guy who brought us on left. And so there was like his job kind of got split into like a bunch of people's jobs. So at one point we were sending in like, we're like, I don't think anybody's approving that. Like, who's in charge of our show? Like, it seemed like, I remember at one point we sent in an episode and somebody was like, oh my God, these are really funny. And we were like, has nobody even read the script yet? Like, they were just like watching them as we were sending them in, being like,
that's hilarious.
These are great, guys. And we were like, this is awesome.
It is awesome because I can tell you, and I'm sure you can, you can attest to this too, is like, you get censored everything. It's like, don't use this word. Don't refer to this. Cut this scene out. This seems touchy. People will be offended. Don't you know what I mean? And it's like, oh my God, it's, so you are really fortunate that, I mean, it just was like one of those like lightning strike moment, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it just
100%. Yeah. And
right time, right place, right. You know what I mean? Like for everything, you're doing comedy again.
I am. And by the way, guys, Jodi was my first comedy teacher. She taught me stand-up comedy.
I remember a lot of your material, which we'll talk about because it leads into adoption and all of that stuff. But I specifically remember it, and really remembering, I mean, you're so talented anyway. You're so talented, in so many areas, but you had a natural cadence on stage, and just your life was, very interesting. And I remember thinking like, people like, this is, because at that time, I'm in my, early 30s, we're in our early 30s and we don't really know our voice yet. And you just had this very clear voice about, your past, who you are now. And it was, that's when it all clicked for me as a stand-up as well. I was like, this is what people want to hear. This is what people relate to. You know what I mean? So thank you for that.
That's so interesting. Oh my God. That makes me so happy. The funny thing is that I stopped doing stand-up because basically it boils down to I was so insecure, and the excuse that I used was, well, I'm not going to be a stand-up, like I don't want to be a touring stand-up, and there's only so much stand-up you can do in LA, so la 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 la, and I just kind of stopped. And no regrets really, because I did other stuff, but and I don't think I could have. I think even if I had done it at that time and continued, like I wouldn't have been ready mentally if anything would have happened,
Right.
So I think now is a better time for me, even like in the zeitgeist of like the culture. Now is a better time for me to be a stand-up and talk about, my story and stuff, just because I think it's more sort of timely. Well, because now that I'm older too, like I don't, I did one show in Vegas at the Laugh Factory in Vegas.
Yep.
And I was just the MC and I did the whole week. It was really hard. My mom had just died like a month before.
Oh my God.
So like that was dumb. But and Harry was like, oh my God, when I told him, he was like, Kim, why didn't you tell me? And and I honestly, I said, in my mind, I thought like a guy wouldn't be like, oh, my mom died, I can't do it. I just felt like I better do it because now is my shot. But hindsight, I should not have done it. I totally would. It was not a good time to do it. But anyway, but just talking to the feature, who his name I will look up. I'm so embarrassed that I cannot remember it right now.
He's not listening. He doesn't even know.
I know, but he was so nice is my point. And he was just like talking about how long he had worked and how much touring he had to do. And I was just like, oh, I still don't want to do that, but I want to do I want to do stand up, but I don't want to do it like that. And I remember like years ago looking at, Jerry Corman, is that his name? He's local. He's a teacher here.
Oh, Jerry Katzman. Jerry Katzman.
Oh, okay. So anyways, he talks about on one of his videos, like one of the ways that you can make money is just by having a clean set. If you have a clean hour, you can just like, do performing around. So I was like, okay, that's my goal then, is I just want to like get a clean hour and a clean show, so that then I can, I'll perform in front of little old ladies at churches, because none of the 20 somethings, up and coming, they don't want to do that, but I'll do it.
That's hilarious. I never ever had that aspiration to have a clean set. I mean, I can definitely do a clean set, and I've had to many times, but that's hilarious. But I mean, here's the thing. The reality of it is, and I've told, many of my students, that is like, you don't have to put all of that pressure on you. And that's, for comics listening to this right now that are starting out and thinking about like, oh my God, how am I, you can do it for whatever reason you want to do it. You can do it because it just makes you happy. You can literally do it because you eventually want to, turn it into writing. You can do it with the hopes that one day, you will get hired in your town to, be an MC. Like it's one of those things when you take the pressure off of, or even the goal. I mean, it's great to have goals. Don't get me wrong. It's 100% great to have goals, but like a lot of comics that started in my class were immediately like, well, I have to become a regular, at this time I have to showcase for Montreal at this date. Like they have all of those goals. And while that's fine, that's a lot of pressure to put on you. When the comics that I worked with that were kind of like, I just really enjoy doing it. I really enjoy the writing of it. I really enjoy performing, and I'll get up as much as I can. And I'm not going to put the pressure on it of like, I need to be this like world famous comic, or I need to work the road. Those are the ones I feel like that had a better journey, overall. It's just, you know what I mean? I mean, how this industry is. It's like, you can get, so many breaks, and it can still lead absolutely nowhere.
Yeah. So you have to be doing it for the sake of enjoying doing it. So.
Yes, absolutely.
Amir K, that's his name, Amir K.
Oh, Amir's the best.
Yeah.
Amir is the best. He's really great. And it is funny because I also, Kim, I never really, I mean, I've definitely toured, around the world. I've gone to Afghanistan. I've done a lot of military tours. I've done, a lot of different cities, but I really, compared to other comics, did not, because I didn't want to either. I was like, you know what? I just don't want to live out of a suitcase. I don't want to sleep in shitty hotel rooms. I would take specific club dates, and I would really hone my craft in LA, which totally, worked out to my benefit as far as getting past at the clubs and, eventually leading to writing jobs and producing jobs, which again, yeah, thinking about if I, if I could have gone back, 17 years, when we were at Acme, if I told my younger self that this is what I'd be doing now, I don't know if I'd be like, no, I want to be an actress on a television show. Right. I think I had that singular goal. At that time.
We all do when we move here. Everybody wants to be on TV or in a movie, and you want to be accepting an award, and that's what we all want. But
yes,
but
then life happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And then you realize that's also not what you think it is, because even if you get on a series, you don't know if your series is going to get renewed next year. It's never, you're never
safe. I mean, it is really, yes.
Yeah. It is, unless you're Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise, unless you're that
unless
level.
your name is Tom, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're Tom, you're fine. But otherwise you're always wondering. Yeah.
So this is something I did not know about you until I saw it on social media, but you recently posted about getting sober.
Yes.
Please tell. I had no idea that was even an issue.
I didn't either.
So weird, right?
Yeah, it was really weird, actually. I didn't either. I mean, I just, when I was in college, I smoked pot and I drank, and I didn't do either one of them to an extreme or anything like that. And then I started taking pills, basically. And so right around the Ambien.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which are delightful, and but the weird thing about Ambien is that for some people it just makes you go to sleep, and for other people it just doesn't do anything. And for me, for whatever reason, chemically, the first time I ever took an Ambien, my mom had some, and she was like, oh, there's this new pill out and it just makes you go to sleep and it doesn't have any effect in the morning. And I was like, oh, well, let me try it, because I sometimes have really early call times, and that would be great if I could take a sleeping pill and wake up. So she gave me two. I was like, give me one to try, and then give me one in case I have an audition. So she gave it to me, and she goes, you should go to lay down, because they work pretty quickly. So I was like, okay. So I took it, I'm typing at my computer, and then all of a sudden all the letters on my computer just start squiggling around.
Oh my God.
And I was like, whoa, that's weird. And because I've done mushrooms and I've done acid. So I was like, huh, okay. And then I got up and I was just like, oh my God, the feeling, it was like, I don't know, it just felt like I was very floaty and I was like,
very euphoric.
Amazing. Yeah. So then, so the combination of that with alcohol, I was doing it, and I wasn't doing it a ton, but I started doing it enough and obsessing about it enough that it became clearly it was a problem. And so at one point when I was writing Gorgeous Tiny Chicken Machine Show, the second season of Gorgeous Tiny, I told Greg, and this was true, but I told him that I needed to go away to just write it and get it out of the way. So I went, I checked into a hotel room in Woodland Hills, but I took with me, cigarettes, Ambien, and wine. So I would write during the day, and I would get it all done. And then at night I would have my own little private party in the room, which, that's just not a normal way to drink, and it's just not.
Yes.
So, and to be lying about it to your husband, and
so he had no idea.
He had no idea. And then that kind of behavior went on where, you know, he would go to sleep and I'd be like, I'm going to stay up and I'm going to work. And then I would do the same thing in my office. And, you know, like I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh my God, I don't remember sending that email. Or why is this roast beef out on the counter? Or, you know, like,
oh my God.
Yeah. Stuff like that. So, so yeah, I finally like, I wasn't even that bad, which is why it took me a while to realize that it was out of control. So, but I finally, actually, I had a blackout on our 4th wedding anniversary.
Oh God.
Which was, yeah, you know, so that just made me realize that, oh, I was choosing, because we'd gone out for a nice dinner,
right?
And I drank most of a bottle of wine because Greg's not a drinker. And then when we came home, I was like, there's some Ambien in the back office and I'm full of wine and I should probably not do this because it's our anniversary, but I'm going to go do it. And so I remember thinking, like, should I take 1 or 2? Because 1 hasn't really been working. So I'll just take 2. And that's the last thing I remember.
Oh my God.
And, you know, but just the fact that it was our anniversary and it was just very telling, you know, it's like, I'm choosing drugs and alcohol over my husband. And so, you know, the next day he was just like, thanks for last night. And I was like, well, I happened last night, you know, and because I, you know, and a lot of people, when I tell that, they're just like, you had 1 blackout, you know, amateur. They're like, please. But, you know, it was not about the amount. It was just about, you know, the path I was taking and, you know, and also I was freaking miserable. I was miserable. Like I was like suicidally miserable, like
oh my God.
hated my life. And you know, there was nothing wrong with my life, but I was so miserable. So anyway, so I got sober and then I did the guild and I did the whole, you know, the whole new media thing. And then when I quit in 2013, I had a very short relapse because I just went back to the whole, like, I'm alone and I don't know what I'm doing. And yeah, so, but then I've been sober ever since then. So yeah, so technically, yeah, I got sober in 2008, but then I relapsed in 2013. So it's been 7 more years now.
Well, I mean, you know, it's very impressive because it's very difficult, especially now, you know what I mean, to sort of not self-medicate. So I applaud you for that because like, it's, you know, it's so interesting. Like Ambien, you were talking about it, that I took it once. And it had the absolute opposite effect that it was supposed to have. And I'll never take it again because I literally was like, I needed to sleep. I was shooting something. I was in New York shooting and a sketch show in New York for Netflix last year and a half ago. And I took it because I had a very early call and they were like, oh, this is great. I was like, all right. My friend was like, no, you should take one. You'll fall right asleep. And normally I would take a Xanax and I didn't bring any Xanax because I just didn't even think. And I was like, okay. Right. And took the Ambien and I was awake the whole fucking night.
Oh my God.
The whole night, just staring, flipping, turning, tossing. I was like, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel drowsy. I didn't feel euphoria. I felt restless
and angry.
And angry. I felt angry. And I think, I honestly do think, did I have a glass of wine before I went? I don't even know if I did or not. All I know is that I was so irritated and I was like, well, that's not worth it. So yeah, I just never took it again. I also think just the horror stories of like people getting in their car and just driving on Ambien or doing things that, you know, blacking out, like you said, you don't just waking up, you know what I mean? I've only blacked out once in my whole life. And that was from like exhaustion / alcohol where I blacked out for like, 3 hours. That's it. But it was enough to scare the shit out of me where I was like, okay, well, that's never going to happen again. So just the fear of that alone, I was like, I can't, Ambien scares the crap out of me, but I don't, you know, you're not alone with so many people take it, you know what I mean? And I'm sure take it the way you were taking it, you know?
Oh yeah. My mom, it's funny because my mom, she would take it sometimes and it would affect her the same way. So one time I was staying with them in Vegas and my dad like comes out, they have a little casita attached and he knocks at the door at like 2 o'clock in the morning and I was awake and I was like, Dad? And he goes, can you come in here? Your mother. And I go in and my mom's just sitting up and she looks at me and she goes, you look like you're made of sand.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, Mom, what's happening? She
What a
like,
great commercial for Ambien. Just a woman sitting up saying, "You look like you're made of sand." Ambien. Ask your doctor if Ambien is right for you. And also find out if you are made of sand. When did you lose your mom?
Last September.
I'm so sorry.
So yeah, she had Alzheimer's. So in a way it was a blessing because
Right.
it was, it was like that race between like what's going to happen, because you don't want somebody with Alzheimer's to just stick around,
Right.
And she ended up actually falling and hitting her head. And so,
oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, which was hard, but ultimately like, a strange blessing. So,
Right.
Just because it ended
Right.
it ended everything. So, and she died, she was 85, and she had like the weirdest, like I call it good Alzheimer's,
Right.
because she was a very sort of tightly wound and worried, fearful person her whole
Right.
life. And then like once Alzheimer's kind of completely took over, it was like, because I think of the whole like, you're just in the moment, you don't really remember stuff, it just
Right.
changed her personality, and she just became very like open and sort of childlike and very loving and very, like, she was always loving. It was like we
Right.
always had a loving household, but I don't know, it was just, she was just, there was not that like, she always used to pick at my dad a lot, just like
Right.
"Nah, nah, 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 nah." And so for the last like 6 years of their marriage, they were very happy together. It was very peaceful, and my dad took really good care of her, so that was kind of sweet.
That is really sweet. You think about your mom like every single day?
I do, and you'll think about her too. Like, I kind of like talk to her because I just like
Yeah.
have this weird like thing where there's this it's weird because there are times when she pops into my head, and that like uh weirdly I'm like, oh, she's with me right now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, you're here, like I'm thinking about you because you're here, so I'm like just gonna kind of shoot out some thoughts to you or talk to you,
Yeah.
or whatever. But yeah, and when you have your child, it's the same thing, because you're just like, oh, she's here, she's checking everything out,
Right. Making sure everything's good.
Yeah.
Was she, I'm going to tell you a very, very interesting story that I've actually never told. Well, it's only happened like a week and a half ago. So, but I'm going to talk about it in a second. And you're going to be like really amazed and very excited about it. But was she able to enjoy Charlie though, at
She
least?
was.
Okay,
She
good.
was, yeah. So she was around. So she died a year ago September.
But I mean, like with her Alzheimer's, I mean, she was still able though to like, understand that Charlie was her grandson, and she was still, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Okay,
she
good.
just started getting kind of that far gone toward the end. So basically,
Okay, good.
She died in September, and then we went into quarantine in March.
Okay.
So she missed the whole quarantine thing.
Right.
So we stopped going to see her with Charlie a few months before, because she was starting to get a little far gone, and I thought it might be confusing to him.
Right.
Because he was verbal enough, and at one point when he was still small, she woke up early in the morning, and she was always fuzzy early in the morning, and I was holding him, and she came out and she went, "Oh, whose baby is that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's mine, Mom." And she was like, "Oh." And then one time she, it was like she found out that I was her daughter.
Oh.
Like, and she was so thrilled. She was amazed. She was just like, "Oh my God, who else knows?" And
oh my God, like, that's hilarious. Yeah. I'm glad that she was happy. Imagine if she was like, "Ugh, no, you're not."
I know.
Like,
I know.
Like, I mean, that would have been.
I know. She was like, do other people know? I was like, "Yeah, Mom, everybody knows." She goes, "Oh my God. Oh, wow. Oh," she was so happy. And then she would do that with my dad too. Like, he would find out, a lot of the time she would wake up like from naps and be really foggy.
Right.
She kind of wouldn't know who he was. And he would say very gently, like, "Well, I guess I'm your old annoying husband." And she'd go, "I'm married."
Oh my God.
She would get really excited about it.
That's hilarious. My God, I wish I could just wake up and there be a husband there. It's fine. You can just show up. If you convince me, long enough, I'll believe you. I'll just, you know what I mean? If you're, just wake up and there's my husband. Oh, okay, I'm married. Great.
Yeah.
So There is.
So tell me the story.
Okay, so there's a docuseries right now out on Netflix called Surviving Death. Have you watched it?
No, that sounds too scary.
Oh, no, it's not scary.
Okay.
Although there's a couple episodes that you might want to watch in the day, but it's
Okay.
about, they're all of the episodes is like I think 6, they're all sort of interconnected, and one is about near-death experiences, and then there are like some past life stuff, and then there's medium stuff and connecting with the dead, and where does our consciousness go, and a lot of scientists, a lot of like scientific research that's gone back to the 1800s. A lot of like really well-known people throughout history have been researching this. It is really, really, really interesting, and I'm definitely into it. It's right up my alley.
That is totally up my alley. That's not what I thought. I thought it was about like people who had been like kidnapped and almost
oh yeah, there are definitely shows like that, which is also up my alley. I watch all that shit, but just to remind myself that life can always get worse.
Right.
That's why I watch all that shit. But I mean, if it's bad, you can always be locked in a trunk, so be grateful for what you have.
Right.
But no, this is definitely near-death experiences and communicating with loved ones that have passed. So there's an episode about that with mediums, and I've had 2 mediums on this podcast. I definitely go to them often or do virtual ones.
I've got a good one for you.
Whenever anybody asks me, I'm like, I'm a single woman over 40 and I live in Los Angeles. Of course I've seen a psychic, like duh.
I have a good psychic for you, by the way.
Okay, good. Well, definitely, I do too. So we'll definitely trade that. All right. Okay. So this is an amazing story for everyone. And then anyone who's lost a loved one is definitely going to do it afterwards. So a little over a week ago, my cat was sick. He's fine, everyone. But he was sick. And I had a feeling that it was his teeth, but it had happened like on the weekend, and I drove him to a 24-hour animal hospital, and they turned me away. They were like, it's a 3 to 6 hour wait. There's something going on in Los Angeles with your animals. So if you're going to like a 24-hour like emergency center, anyway, I was very distraught. I got home and I kind of thought, it was actually right before I was doing Greg's show, and it was that day. Yes, it was that day. So
I was like, why do I know this? That's why.
So that whole day that I was like very, very exhausted because I was up pretty much all night with the cat. And I think I sort of like figured out that it was his tooth, but I had to basically wait till Monday. So I was taking a shower before doing Greg's show, and I was in the shower. I was so tired, when you're just in the shower and you're just standing there and you're just like staring at something for a long period of time. I was thinking about the episode where they talk about your loved ones are always there and ask for a sign. And my mom definitely lets me know that she's in the house. My cat sees her all the time. I have my lights flicker in the dining room. I've had many like mediums tell me that my mom's like, they've described her. I know that she's here, but for some reason I was like, let's just play a game. So I'm like, okay, Mom, if you are truly here with me, I need a sign. And I don't need like a sign like a hummingbird or a butterfly or like a blue car, because fuck, there's just so many of those. I need something definite. So I stood in the shower and I was thinking, I'm like, okay, I got it. My mom loved the TV show MASH. She loved it. I hated it. She watched it every single night making dinner. She would watch it in reruns. She loved the show. Nothing against the show. I didn't get it back then. And now I can appreciate it, but I was like, oh, whatever. She just loved it. So I'm like, okay, if you're really here, I need a sign that has to do with the show MASH. Specifically MASH. And I said out loud, and it can't be mashed potatoes. It can't be like doing the monster mash. It can't be like any of that. It has to clearly be the show. It has to say MASH. And then I go, it can be Alan Alda, but please don't let him die. I don't want him to like die and his name is in the news. But like, it can be him. And then I started laughing. I was like, that's so obscure. Like, how is she like seriously MASH? Like, what am I thinking? Like, how is that even going to happen? So I kind of backtracked a little bit. I was like, or Neil Diamond. because I like didn't trust. I was like, one of the two. It can be a Neil Diamond mashup. That would be kind of cool. But I was like, it's got to be one of the two. But specifically, if you can show me MASH, I'll never question it ever. Not that I did, but anyway. I go do Greg's show. So much fun. It's like 3 hours. You know what I mean? Yes. We were having drinks. It was fun. Afterwards, I go to make dinner. I post a picture before I did that show on Instagram where I had a lot of like, highlighter on my brow. And I posted something like, I hope all the highlighter I'm using covers the fact that I'm exhausted. It just was a very whatever picture. And my friend out of the blue just texted me like, well, she, commented on that picture, replied on that story. Are you okay? And I said, yeah, Jersey was sick last night and I didn't get any sleep. And she's like, oh my God, what's going on with him? And I explained the situation. I go, I went to True Pet and they turned me away. I was very upset. I thought he was going to die. I just vomited out everything. And the message she sent back, are you guys ready for this? She said back, have you gone to MASH? In all caps, MASH.
What?
I know. What? I screen saved it so you guys can all see it. I get the chills every time I say it. I immediately wrote back, call me right now.
Oh my God.
So she called me and she's like, what happened? Is everything okay? And she's definitely somebody that also believes in all of this too. Right. So she's very open-minded. So I tell her and she's like, oh my God. I go, why did you say that? First of all, why did you say, have you gone to MASH? And she goes, it's a new animal hospital that just opened up on Santa Monica and Vine.
Oh my
MASH,
God.
in all caps. And
That
I was like, so I'm freaking out. And then she goes, you're going to freak out even more. Just in case my mom was like, just in case you don't think that's a sign, here's another one. She goes, before you texted me, before we were going back and forth, she was watching The History of Swear Words, also on Netflix. I'm giving Netflix a lot of love today. The History of Swear Words. She was watching that before we started texting. And guess what the first television show was to ever have a swear word? MASH.
Wow.
Is that not like fucking nuts?
That's crazy.
Like as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, got it. Mom, got it. Message received. And then I immediately went into my bedroom where my cat was sleeping and I started crying and I'm like, Grandma says you're going to be just fine. I just had a feeling like that was her way of and he is, everyone. He just had 3 teeth removed and he's back to normal. But I mean, it was so bizarre that it brought me to tears and it was such a clear-cut sign. So you have to ask your loved ones for something like very specific so that it's not, because yes, you can say, I would love to see a butterfly, but you're going to see a lot of butterflies because there are a lot of butterflies. Yeah. So yeah, it's got to be something, but you should watch that show, Surviving Death, because I think you'll really love it, but also ask your mom for a sign.
Okay, definitely. This is a funny little story. I was with my friend Kristen and her dad had died like 2 years before my mom.
Right.
And
it's already hilarious.
I know. It's funny. And but we're sitting outside and talking and all of a sudden she goes, oh my God, look. And like I look over my shoulder and like maybe like a foot from me, there's like a little hummingbird and it's just hovering there and it's just like and we're just both looking at it for a really long time. And then Kristen goes, Mom,
oh God.
Dad, which one are you?
Which one are you? Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Are you an only child?
Say that again. No, I have a brother.
Oh, okay.
I have a brother. So, but you are an only child and you are adopted, which by the way, that's one of my favorite jokes of all time was your adoption joke that you told like in your first stand-up set.
It's still my opener.
It's one of my favorites. And yes, I mean, why wouldn't it be? I would never get rid of that. It's so great. You can tell it right now if you'd like.
Okay. Now I can't remember it. Well, so you'll know I'm lying because I start off and I say, when I told my mom that I was doing stand-up, she said, oh, well, I'm sure you'll bring great shame to our family. And I said, Mom, you've got to stop talking to me like that. Okay, first of all, I am a grown woman. Second of all, you are not Asian. I am adopted. You're white. So quit it. So inappropriate.
So awesome.
That's so inappropriate. Yeah.
So you were adopted, obviously. Yeah. You've known that your whole life. Were you, and this is a personal question, so if you don't want to answer it, tough, you have to answer it anyway.
Okay.
Were you and Greg trying, or was it always, were you like, we're going to adopt when we're ready? Or were you like, let's try, and if we don't, we'll adopt? Or what was that game plan?
It was always like, I think we had talked in passing about like, yeah, adoption would be an option, but we were just trying. It was
You were
just
trying. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really, really, really wanted us to have a baby because I'm adopted. And so,
Yes.
I was like really into seeing what our baby would be like and
Yeah.
stuff. And so then it just like didn't happen over and over again. And then I was like, oh, wow, I've never even been pregnant ever, even by accident.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can get pregnant. So after we did 3 intrauterine inseminations, which is
wow.
where they
IUI.
IUI.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
that's where
did
they.
that. I did 7 of those. Yeah.
Did you really?
Yep. So
I
finish
had
your,
no
yeah.
idea.
Don't go ahead. Yeah. So you did IUI. Did you end up doing IVF or no?
We tried to do an IVF. I switched doctors. I had all of my endometriosis taken out. I was like fully ready. And then we did the stuff for the IVF, and the new doctor was like, you only made 2 eggs. And I was like, what? Like it was less eggs than I had made, when we were doing
Yeah.
IUIs.
It's
And
almost
so,
exactly what happened to me. Yeah.
are you serious?
Yeah. I
That's
didn't end up doing IVF. I ended up, after my mom died, about I definitely waited about 8 months. It wasn't until 6 months that my mom died. 6 months after that, I went into a deeper, darker despair. Like I robbed my mom of being a grandparent,
mm-hmm.
and I felt that guilt. And she never, ever, by the way, put that on me. She never
Right.
did. My dad definitely wants a grandchild. He's definitely like constantly like, just fuck someone. He literally is just like, enough already. I mean, I've had a joke that I've done since I was my mid-30s. My dad's been like, stop using protection. But I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And yes, I went to a doctor and he's like, I don't think you need IVF right now. Your follicles look really good. Let's do IUI. And we did, 7 rounds total. We did so many rounds. He gave me a couple rounds. I performed at their Christmas party, like the night I performed their Christmas party, the night of the night after a round. I got a round that
Oh my
morning.
God, that's
And
hilarious.
my opening joke was, do you know how many people in this room have seen my vagina today? It's a lot. So they were great, Pacific Fertility Center, and they were great. And then I did a military tour.
Okay.
And I came back and my follicles were different. And he was like, sometimes that happens. Like it was weird. I had missed a period. It was a little bit weird. And then he was like, I think it's time to switch over to IVF. And I had spent now thousands of dollars on IUI just I had to buy the sperm too. So I had like
God.
sperm. Yes, it's so much money. So I was constantly having sperm sent to the clinic and the procedure itself. And so to do IVF, for those of you who don't know, it's like 15,000 a round, and there's no guarantees. And I actually started taking the drugs, and then I got on America's Got Talent, and I gained weight from all of the different drugs and stuff that I've been on. And I just thought, maybe this is the reason I don't have a baby right now. I don't want to be bloated. And I just was like, I'm going to stop the meds. I'm going to put this on pause. I'm going to do AGT, see how that plays out. Right. Maybe that's my destiny. And AGT, happened, played out. And after that, it was either do IVF or do embryo adoption, which I don't know. Did you consider embryo adoption?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So my doctor was like, you should do embryo adoption, which is just a fully formed embryo already that they implant inside of you. And that was, cheaper than IVF at the time. But I just stopped. And then I didn't think about it again until I bought my house. And I was like, now is the time. But I honestly, and I'm assuming you went through this too, like I had to mourn the death of not being able to have my own biological child. Did you feel that way?
Yes. And I didn't even know that
right. I didn't either.
So I wrote a story about it recently and sort of figured it out in the writing of the story, actually, strangely, so many years later. But because what was mixed up in it for me was the fact that I had wanted my own biological child so much because I was adopted. Right. And I thought that was kind of embarrassing to me. So when I stopped being able, when I made the decision, like, okay, we're not going to have a child, I thought then if I don't then say we're going to go on to we're going to go on to adoption, that would like people would see through me and they would be like, oh, well, you don't really want a child. Like if I was just like, oh, we can't have a child, so we're done. People would be like, what do you mean you don't want a child? Oh, you just wanted to see what your child would look like. You just wanted your own, but you don't really want to have a child. You don't really want to be a mother. You just wanted to try, so I had all this weirdness going on in my head. And even if that's what I had wanted, who cares?
Yes.
It's my life.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was really like all crazy about it. And like you said, mourning. And when you're in a mourning period, like you're not making any sense, but I didn't know that was happening. So and I was really busy also at the time working on the guild. So I was just like, okay, well, I guess this is my destiny. I'm just going to be a producer. I'll just work really hard. That'll just be my life. And I don't need a child because clearly I have a lot to do and this will be what I do. And then I was, cut to like 2013 after I had quit doing the guild and, had been basically unemployed for 7 months. And I was at a party with a friend and somebody asked her if she'd just gotten married. And they said, are you going to have kids? And she was like, oh, eventually we just want to have time to ourselves. And they were like, are you going to have kids? And I was like, no, I'm good. And I was like, because I had been saying, no, we tried, it didn't work out, whatever. And just the fact that I said, no, I'm good made me go like, I'm not good.
Right.
Oh shit. And then I went home to Greg and I was just like, I want to adopt. And he was like, wait, what? But, so to his credit, he, went ahead with it.
It's such a, oh God, it's such a complex thing. I went through that phase too, which was like you, where you're telling yourself, I'm okay. And it's like, I thought to myself, maybe I will meet a guy who already has kids and I'll be a stepmom. Or maybe I'll meet a guy who doesn't have kids, doesn't want kids, or, had kids, is done with kids, but he will say to me, I don't want any more kids, but I will be enough. We will live this amazing life. And that would be okay too. Like I was there mentally. And then, the longer it went, I was still sort of single. It was still there. Like I've always wanted to be a mom, and it hasn't gone away. And I just woke up and I was like, I don't want to miss this opportunity. You know what I mean? And I think, yes, I still mourn it on some level. Like when I see people posting, that they're pregnant and, their bellies are all, I wanted not only to see what my baby was going to look like, but I wanted to experience pregnancy. I wanted that so much, to have something growing inside me. There's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Like there's something, if you don't do that, for me, I was like, I'm not really getting the entire experience of being a woman. That's just what was going through my head. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's true. It's just how I felt. And I wanted to have that. There's been so many conversations that I can't relate to. All of my friends talking about their birth stories and breastfeeding and, the baby weight and, everything and seeing the baby. I'll never get to experience that. And it was, it's difficult. And I was just talking to my friend the other day, who's a single mom. Her daughter's 10. And, I'm in the adoption process. It's been a little over a year. And I'm still like, I'm not matched with a birth mom. And it's really difficult. And I'm single, so it's already like, it puts you lower. It's just difficult. And I thought, well, maybe I should consider an older child, like foster to adopt. And, maybe I'll call my agency up and say that. And then I just started crying and I'm like, no, it's not fair that I don't get to experience having a newborn, hearing my baby's first words, seeing my baby crawl, seeing my baby take its first steps. Like that's always been the plan, is to be a mom. Doesn't matter how, but I feel gypped, if you know what I mean. And it's not that that older kids don't deserve to be adopted. That's not what I'm saying. And, maybe down the line I'll adopt another kid, but I want to experience those firsts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally 100% know what you mean. And And also it's harder sometimes, I think, when kids are older. I mean, I think that just,
Yes,
biologically the bonds, really do happen,
of
very
course, 100%. And a lot of the kids, they have like emotional trauma. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it's not like I don't have enough, you know what I mean? But if someone's going to fuck up my kid, it's going to be me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's just a very different life that you choose.
it is. And I'm single right now. I mean, tomorrow I might meet the love of my life and we get married and whatever, but having a child with special needs, while I I don't know that I can, say that I can do that right now as a single person working, and you know what I mean? And by the way, there's no guarantees that I will have a baby and my baby won't have special needs. I'm not saying that either, but at the end of the day, I think it is a lot more about, having all of this firsts, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Waking up every 3 hours to feed the baby, just everything that you got to experience with Charlie and, but it's like, how do you feel now that you have Charlie? Do you feel like, is that feeling of having your own biological child, is that like gone? How does that like?
Yes, 100%. Because, he's so much our kid.
Yeah, he really is. He really looks like you and Greg made him.
I know, it's so funny that's another just like weird, like something's happening in the universe that has nothing to do with me. Like, I don't know. And, when I sort of gave that part up, because I really went through this, period, and I'm sure you've gone through it too, because you go through these ups and downs where you're just like, it's never going to happen. And then you're like, okay, it's fine. And then you're like, it's never going to happen. So I was just sort of
how long did you guys wait? I mean, I brought this up briefly, but like, how long was your process from, did you join an agency and get a lawyer, or did you just because I got my lawyer first and then I went with an agency to get my home study and everything done. How long, what was your process?
Ours was backwards. We did an agency and then we got a lawyer in to like do all the final stuff. But I mean, ours was long because I dragged it out because of my mom's Alzheimer's. So like we started in basically, I think October of 2013 is when we had our first like meeting at the agency. And then in 2014, I knew that we were going to go on this trip in the summer. We're going to take like a cruise to Alaska, like his family and my family. And I was like, I'm just going to wait until after that. And then, so let's see. So then by like 2015, basically is when we went live. So so it took me a whole year to get it together. So January of 2015 is when we were live. And then we got our call in September, and it was our first call, our only call.
That's amazing, because it's been, and I know COVID has definitely slowed things up, although I was convinced there was going to be so many unplanned pregnancies. I'm like, there's going to be so many babies. But, I sent my lawyer my packet, and he's in touch with every agency around the country, and I have my agency here in California, but so I really get almost everything from him. And
Are you allowed to say, have you said what your agency is?
Oh, it's Vista Del Mar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he I gave him my packet. I put together my packet, my big packet.
Yes.
With all the pictures. He picked the pictures. I sent him 70 pictures. He picked the ones I should do, you know what I mean? And I was really careful about the pictures that I picked. And I got my first like birth mom possibility, like email call in, I think, January of last year. And by the way, people, you get it and you think, oh my God, here it is. I'm going to send this letter. I'm going to like connect with this birth mom. And then you look at the breakdown of the costs and it's like $45,000. And that's on top of the 10 you've already spent, or sometimes more. And I'm like, I remember calling him up and being like, oh my God, that's a lot of money that I just thought like, I thought I'd be paying the birth mom like X, Y, and Z, and then you. And he's like, oh yeah, you've got their lawyer fees, their agency fees. And then if the match falls through, like half of that is for the agency in the other state. And that is gone forever, but they'll still look for you for 2 years. And I'm like, yeah, but that like 20,000 is just gone. So like I can submit, match, and she could like, it was jarring, but I was like, okay, I'm in it. Let's do it. And, out of the whole year from January to January, I think I've only submitted like maybe 4 times, and I've gotten about maybe like 7. I've only gotten 7 like possible opportunities. And I've sent my packet in 4 times. 3, I was like, they just weren't right for me. But, so like nothing. It's a lot like dating. It feels like I'm being judged because I'm single and I'm of a certain age, and they don't know me yet. They're not like, I feel like if I can get them on the phone, I can close the deal.
Yeah.
Like I could do it. I could do this. So like for you, was it the same way? Did you get like the birth mom possibilities and then you sent the letter in the packet, or they just looked at on the site, saw your stuff, and then contacted you?
Yeah, ours was the other way around. Like the birth moms picked us at the agency that we were with. So we
Right.
had no contact with birth moms. Birth moms, we would just be sent, like our birth mom was sent like 300 of those packets. Like they sat in a box in her house, apparently, because she was in high school. And so they just sat in a box in the corner for a really long time. And then her mom, finally kind of went through like the first initial round and,
Right.
like took the 300 down to like probably 50 or something like that. And, so that she didn't have to deal with 300 because that was a lot. And, but the fact that I was adopted and, our birth mom also was adopted. I don't know if I told you that.
Oh no.
So,
Wow.
yeah. So she's Asian and she was adopted and her mom is white and and our
Wow.
birth father is white, so he's the same racial mix as me and Greg.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. So
but
do you have an open adoption?
yeah, with our birth mom, the birth
Yes.
father signed away his rights, so
Right. Yeah.
we don't
Which,
see.
yes. Yeah. I'm like up for open adoption as well, which I think is great because, and I'm sure you obviously know this too, like this is, I think 90% of adoptions now are like open adoption, where like in the 80s or the 90s, like it was like almost none of them were like any contact, or you had to wait really until they were 18. It wasn't even an option. And I think it's so much better for the child, you know what I mean, to know that all of this came from love. Like that's always been my, like, I always wanted to have that opportunity to, tell my child, not only did your birth mom love you so much, she wanted you to have a better home, but she also wanted to stay in your life. Like that's, you know what I mean, like such an amazing thing. That because when you were growing up, I mean, you didn't have that, I'm assuming, right? You
Yeah,
didn't.
I
Yeah.
had no contact. I have no records. I just, I have records from the adoption agency,
Right.
and from foster care that like have my measurements and, like here's, a report on the baby, but I don't have any, I don't have any history. So, and, and it's true, at least it is true for us. And again, I'm sure it's different for kids, who are not, uh, adopted at birth, but because we're so open about it. And the way that my mom did it when I was adopted, I asked her, like, how did, even though, I was Asian and they weren't, I would have figured it out very quickly at some point. But I was like, how did you tell me? And she was like, I just always used adopted as another endearment for you. So I would say, my beautiful daughter. Sometimes I would say my beautiful adopted daughter. Sometimes I would say my little adopted daughter, until finally one day you just said, what does adopted mean? And I told you, and that was it. So I
That's
was
so
like, oh,
great. I think your
yeah.
mom was definitely ahead of, ahead of the curve as far as like.
Yeah, I think so. And so just the fact that she told me that was like, okay, so that's, how we'll do it. And then that's also what they
Yeah,
suggest that
that's what
you
they
do.
tell you, start that adoption story, early on.
Yeah, so I made him a little book, how you can like make books so
Yes.
easily now. So he has like his Charlie's
Love that.
family. So it has, like just all his relatives. It has me and daddy and his grandma and his aunts and uncles and,
Oh,
his birth mom and his birth aunt and his birth grandma. And,
oh, I love that.
so ever since he was a little baby, it's like a little picture book. So we would read him books and then we would show him this. And so,
I love that.
he's always known. And it's cool because that way it really is like, you have a grandma and you have an aunt and you have a birth mom and you have that, and it's
It's
not
so
like,
great.
and he just knows that he came out of her tummy and then we adopted him,
Yeah. And you're
So
his mommy.
yeah.
Oh, I love it. I mean, it's so, God, it's so hard. It's so hard. I feel like when we're, teenagers, we're scared into thinking that if you sit on a toilet after a guy was in there, you'll get pregnant. Like, I just remember thinking it's so easy to get pregnant. Don't go in a hot tub with a guy. You'll get pregnant.
Yeah.
Turns out it is a miracle. It's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a freaking, yeah.
It's a freaking miracle. And it's like, yeah, it's really, and I've also experienced, I was turned down by, I thought it was like my baby, because it happened very quickly. I got an email from my lawyer and he said, check your email. I'm sending you something. It's a great possibility. She's already signed most of the paperwork. They're inducing her on Tuesday, and this was like Thursday. And, it's in Washington State, and we don't have her medical records yet, but they're coming in. And, her lawyer is, broke down everything. And I was like reading, everything. They didn't have the medical records yet, but, it sounded great. Except it was very expensive. It was actually on the much higher end. It was like around 53,000. I was like, oh my God. I was just kind of like blown away by that. But but I still was like, I am submitting this. And he said specifically she's open to gays and singles, knowing that my lawyer, he pushes, you know what I mean, for certain things.
Mhm.
So, and my lawyer is phenomenal. And everybody, in the city, that I've talked to is like, oh, David's amazing. He's such a great lawyer. He's the guy to go to. So I was really excited. I was like, okay, this is really good. And I sent everything in. And then the next day, the agency called me and they were like, we're just checking in about that birth mom in Washington. And I was like, oh my God, did I get, like, I thought, oh my God, is it happening? Am I going to Washington right now? Like, this was during COVID. I was like, am I driving to Washington so that I can be in the delivery room? And they were like, we didn't hear anything yet, but check with David and we'll check with the agency. I was like, yes. So I like text him and he's like, I'm driving right now, but I saw that an email came in. I'm going to, I'll call you back. And I was like, okay, great. 10 minutes later, he texts me, probably a very difficult text to text, and says, just heard back from her lawyer. The birth mother will not consider anyone with a Jewish background.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Oh.
Gays and singles, totally fine.
Oh my God.
Jewish, you and your horns, get out of here.
Oh my God.
Obviously my first reaction as a comic in general was like, will you tell that white trash whore that only someone with a Jewish background could afford that baby? That was my initial text back, and then I just deleted that. I was like, I should probably not write that. So instead, I just put "wow" with all caps, and he was, obviously horrified, and he's like, "It happens. It's unfortunate. I'm sorry." He's like, "I'm more disappointed that the lawyer didn't even say that before." And here's the thing: it's like, I'm spiritual. I'm not religious. I put Jewish background because I'm not hiding anything. And then I've had people, they're like, take that off your profile. I'm like, why? Why should I, you know what I mean? Like, I have a Christmas tree in 2 of my photos. Like, I celebrate. What's the problem here? You know what I mean? So it was very upsetting when that happened. And I was like, wow, like what else is, it just was so like.
Yeah. But you have to have it on there because you don't want to match with somebody like that.
No.
And have them in your life. I mean,
no, exactly. Right. This person would be in my life and be like, you're Jewish. I don't know why I gave her a Southern accent. I'm sorry, Southerners. I'm sorry. I don't know why I did. But it just was I was really shocked. The reaction that you had was exactly the reaction I had. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. That's insane. Oh my God. Wow. Well, I think that I believe, this is what I believe. I believe that with the whole spirit thing, and like, I believe you can ask for help from your mom and your spirit little angel things that you have. Like, I believe we all have them. So I believe that you can ask them for help with
our spirit guides. Yes, I believe it too. And I have asked my mom many times. Marcia likes to do things on her own time. I'm so happy that you were able to do this and be on here. And I'm so happy for you and Greg and Charlie. and everything.
I'm so happy for you. I just can't wait for you to have a baby because it is the best and you know it. And I can't wait. I can't wait.
I can't wait either because I'll be calling you a lot and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? I'll be freaking out. But I have, thankfully, all my friends have kids, so that's what they're there for.
There you go.
Please tell everyone where they can find you. And I will, of course, have that listed in the description as well.
Oh, okay. Well, the best place to find me is on Instagram, which is just at Kim Evey. That's Kim, Evey like Victor, EY. And on Facebook, I am at Kim Evey Comedy. And I'm also on Twitter, but I don't really use Twitter.
Nobody does anymore. No. Please follow her, watch her comedy, stalk her, do all the things you do. Just don't be creepy about it. She's amazing. Thank you again for being on here.
Thank you, Jodi. I loved this. This was
so much fun. Thank you guys for listening and for watching. If you're watching, I'm Jodi Miller, and this is Don't Call Me Ma'am. Don't fucking call me ma'am.